Hello, I'm Danny.
I'm Jake.
I'm Shelby.
And this is Marvel Talk. Welcome back, everybody, to an amazing episode of Marvel Talk. Not saying that because of the Spider-Man stuff, saying that because the boy Shelby's back as well. Come on, man.
It's the nostalgia bait episode, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What? Who opened the portal? Who opened the portal to 2019 or brought him back? Who did that?
You got the ring and you were like, Marvel Talk host, and you're like, wait, who's this guy?
Oh man, we were trying to get Connor.
Yeah.
But we got Shelby in the house, in the hot seat. He's the third chair has been dusted off. We're glad to have you back, man.
I'm excited to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah,
It's a big deal.
one point, what was it? $1.19 billion already after just like 2 weeks at the theater. Like, holy moly!
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it beat Infinity War for Thursday night premiere.
Freaking huge, man! It's crazy. Oh, it's currently at 1.37 billion.
And you know what's interesting is I think it's stuff like this where people will look at it and go, oh, well, this is happening? Okay, I'll go see this. Like, myself, I haven't seen any of the other Marvel films since Endgame, or since Far From Home. But then with this, it's like, okay, well, not only do I like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, generally, but Tobey's coming back. It's like, okay, well, yeah, I'll see what's going on here. And
well, that and you don't really miss anything from not having seen the other movies, because this one picks up after the other one does, Far From Home. So,
and it makes it so accessible for people that don't really follow the MCU to go like, oh, well, not only some people might not know for sure that the Spider people are in it initially, right? Now everybody knows, but but at first when they see stuff from it, they go like, oh wait, that's Doc Ock, that's Goblin from the movies that I saw 20 years ago. This can appeal to me, somebody who didn't actually follow the 25 films or whatever that are in the MCU. But I did see those back in the day because they were like pretty big films, and like everybody saw them back then, right? I wonder if the inverse is true for anybody. So, like for example, my younger brother has never seen Tobey or Andrew's films, and so he saw this one and was like, oh, I didn't really like this one because I don't know who any of those people are.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, my girlfriend's got that same perspective where she hasn't seen the older Spider-Man movies. Like, she's seen the Tobey Maguire ones, but not for, like, years. And then she never saw the Andrew Garfield ones. But she loved this one still. She thought this one was really good. And the emotional moments still really work. She's like, I don't understand exactly who those characters are, but the emotional moments make sense the way they're set up. I guess, we can jump right into it, I suppose. Spoilers for anybody who still hasn't seen it. If you haven't, we already have said some. Some big ones. But yeah, spoilers. Let's get into it, man. Spider-Man. My favorite part's Andrew. He's the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
He's
without
the best.
a doubt.
Yeah, like 100%. Like proven, just out acting everyone else on screen, up one side and down the other with whatever scene he's in.
Yeah, it's nuts, especially because like I never saw his movies in their entirety. I've seen parts of them.
Okay.
Maybe I've seen his first one, but I don't feel like I have. I don't feel like I remember it well enough, at least. Okay. And then I've seen a good amount of the second one, like on TV at a hotel, basically.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that's like how I've seen any of his movies, actually, is like that circumstance. And of course, that's because I've seen the Tobey Maguire films so many times that, you know, I know them inside and out. I mean, those were like some of the movies that, when I was a kid, one of the only movies I had, and so I just kept watching them with commentary, all the behind the scenes, you know, like just really loved them. And I've always kept those really, really near to me.
I thought Shelby was on the show, not High Top Films. What is this? No, keep going. You did.
Let me just be really dramatic. Spider-Man No Way Home broke me. So going into this, I was like, okay, I really want to see Tobey, and I don't really care one way or the other for Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man prior to seeing this. And then afterward, it was the reverse, where I was like, Tobey was kind of like take it or leave it. But Andrew, holy cow, like I want to see more of him so badly.
This felt like an Andrew setup movie, like to reset up his character and be like, let's test and see how many people like him, so that way we can maybe do something with him in the future. And I really hope they got him on some kind of contract, because he needs to come back. He deserves that, I think.
I liked ideas of Andrew Garfield, if that makes sense, without really watching his movies. I was like, okay, he seemed like a good Spider-Man, like quippy Spider-Man that Tobey never really was very good at in the suit. Like Tobey was very good Peter Parker, but then I never really bought any of the Peter Parker stuff I'd seen of Andrew Garfield. I also thought, I was like, okay, well, all of the Venom and Morbius and whatever else they're trying to do there, that could fit into the Andrew Garfield universe, because in Tobey's it would contradict the Venom that already exists, and then he never really fit into the MCU. So I thought prior to this, I was like, oh, it'd be really cool if Andrew did end up coming back and then was in the same universe. And now I'm like, well, now I want Amazing Spider-Man versus Venom as the next movie Sony produces. That would be really cool.
God, that would be tight. You know, postponing Morbius for like 3 months is a really good time to like shoot some more scenes with Andrew Garfield.
That's got to be what it is.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, that could.
Just throwing
that could
it out
cool.
there.
Yeah.
It's a really good way to shoot some post-credits shots. You know.
Well, and now with the Spider-Man murderer graffiti that's in Morbius,
Makes more sense.
Makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it really fits. And if it's true that, like, I've seen people say, oh, they just did a placeholder by putting in Tobey's Spider-Man.
Because that Raimi picture is from the PS4 game. It's like a shot ripped right out of the PS4 stuff. Like when you're wearing the Raimi suit. So
Gotcha. Well, so yeah, I think like if they just swap it out so when you actually see the movie, it's Andrew Garfield, that would be really cool. And yeah, fit with him being like, oh, I stopped pulling my punches and I got violent. I was like, whoa. When he said that, I was like, what? I wasn't expecting that at all. I mean,
yeah, I loved that. I was like, oh man, like that's so dark and cool. And I'm like, that's a perfect setup to get him into a Venom suit. I've always been a huge Amazing Spider-Man fan, like of those movies when no one else was. It felt like for a long time.
Yeah.
Like second one's got its problems. It's cool. I get it. Like it does.
It does look really good though.
But visually, it's amazing. Like and I don't know. There's just so much care and effort that gets put into both of those movies, even if they got kind of botched up by the studios. Like I still think there's a level of personality to those movies that just none of this modern Marvel stuff has until this movie. Like this No Way Home finally felt like it was the director finally got to do something with this one, sort of, not like a ton, but in some capacity. I felt a little more whisper of the heart happening here. But with Amazing Spider-Man, like you can tell that those are Mark Webb movies. Like they just come off as that. They're shot like that. They look like it. The actors are directed like that. Like it all fits. Having Andrew Garfield come back, and it would be cool for Mark Webb to come back and do a third one. I don't know. That'd be pretty dope. I do
plan on watching the Andrew Garfield films now. Definitely going to set some time aside and go into those.
Yeah. You might have to watch number 2 in a couple sittings. That one's... It's pretty long.
I know there's a lot crammed into it.
Yeah. But that first one, I still think the first one's pretty smooth. I think it's a pretty smooth ride.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good, solid film.
Yeah.
Well, from what I do remember of it, I remember that there's a lot of beats in that movie that are parallels to Spider-Man 1 from Raimi. And I just remember thinking, you're doing the same thing less good, and so why even do it? And that is something that I always liked about the MCU Spider-Man, that they did bypass that stuff, initially at least. Where it's like, okay, well...
They're not bypassing it anymore.
Freshman year, guys. Can't wait.
No,
yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 1 has some good stuff in there that's, I would say, different from the stuff Raimi did with Tobey.
Oh, yeah.
The skateboard scene, right? The skateboard montage.
The skateboard montage is great.
Peter, you gotta understand that when you're given gifts and other people aren't, that you gotta be willing to step up and do the things that you're meant to do. And I
thought it was so funny that they like retconned that basically in this where Andrew was like, "Oh yeah, with great power comes great responsibility." That's what they said to me too.
That's exactly what my uncle said.
Well, you know what's funny is when he said that the first time, I'm like, oh, so they're because I doubt anybody watched the deleted scenes for Amazing Spider-Man 2, where Peter's dad comes back and he says the line. Yeah.
Oh, does he say it in that scene? In that post-credit deal they were gonna do?
Different ending, I think, because it was Andrew at Gwen's grave.
Oh, that's right.
And it's during that montage, and then that's when his dad just walks up and says, "Peter, what's going on?" And Peter's just giving him
he's got like a big old beard and stuff, and it's
and then Peter's dad rebuttals with just saying because of the position he was in, he had to go into hiding, and that's when he says, "With great power comes great responsibility."
Oh, does he?
Yeah, that would have been good. I mean, that would have been a good ending. Another issue with those movies that I think happened was that they tried to stuff so much into them.
Well, the second one, for sure.
Well, even the first one. I mean, I know that they kind of ended up cutting some threads, but from what I recall, there was they were trying to set up his parents as being like special agents or something at one point, weren't they? And
that's in the second
movie. Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, like all that stuff. It's like, okay, it doesn't need to go. You don't need to go into all of this.
And that it's interesting because that is all comic book accurate. Like that's what ends up happening to his parents in the comic books.
In the initial iteration, though,
I think in the Ultimates universe,
okay,
I think that's what happens to his parents. Like they have a whole
run. They're Shield agents, right?
Yeah, I think so. Like offshoot Shield agents,
I think
or something like that.
Yeah.
Like they helped out with Shield for a little bit, but they're ultimately just like regular secret agents.
Well, and on the flip side, that's something that like this movie doesn't do. Like original Spider-Man 3, what?
They were secret agents back in the 60s.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's old comic book stuff. Okay.
So original Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2 are both bogged down by like too many villains and too many plot threads, and it's funny that this movie has so many villains and yet like doesn't feel like there's actually that. It feels like almost nothing is happening in a way, like if that makes sense. Like even though it's the largest scale thing basically to happen in the MCU because it's multiverse and there's really a lot at stake here, it doesn't feel like you have like all these different plot threads happening. It feels like one thing throughout the whole movie pretty much.
Yeah, it's a very cohesive story.
Yeah.
Like, for everything that it's got to tackle, like they did a really good job. Like I was honestly very impressed. That was the same trepidation I had going into Spider-Verse. Was that I was like, oh, there's a lot of characters and it feels like they're not going to give enough time to anybody and this and that, and then it ended up being great. So I don't know if it's just some weird thing where whoever is working on whatever Spider-Man movie it is just really started giving a crap or something. I don't know.
That being said, also though, I do think there's definitely some issues with like various villains that are in this movie that don't really fit with who they are in the other movies.
All I'm saying is that the Lizard doesn't have anything to do in this movie.
No, there's really no reason for him to be in it.
It's a big bummer because I love the Lizard.
Sandman also doesn't really makes a lot of sense most of the time. I think ultimately you could have just had Green Goblin because he was so fucking good in this.
Willem Dafoe stole the show from me, man.
If you had Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro, that would have been a perfect little three-person.
Well, they were the only ones who really did anything, right?
Yeah.
I did not like Electro in this movie.
A lot of Jamie Foxx in this version of him. Yeah.
Do you like the new?
Yeah, it just felt like I don't even know if there was a script for his dialogue. It felt like they were like, "Yeah, Jamie Foxx, you could just do whatever you want," and he just started like doing stuff.
Just started riffing,
and he was like such a different character than from what I have seen.
Well, it's the universe's energy changed him, Shelby. The energy of this universe changed who he was, and somehow brought his body back.
The easy solution you could have had to any changes to any of the characters is to just go like, it's from an adjacent an adjacent universe to the one that we're familiar with of this character. Mm-hmm. So it's not from the movie that we saw, but it's like the next multiverse over, where things are just slightly different, but not as dramatically different as like the MCU is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that would have just worked, because he could have been like, then Andrew could have said like, oh, the Max that I knew was like this. Mm-hmm. Even though, did he even really know the character?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
he did. Okay. I didn't know.
Well, he knew who Max was,
but Max didn't know him, right?
Yeah. That's why we get that line at the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I guess that's like one of my biggest issues with the movie is how Doctor Strange tries to explain how the spell is working.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like everybody who's getting pulled through knows Peter Parker, but Max doesn't know Peter Parker. Max never knew Peter Parker. He only knew Spider-Man. Unless the thing is that Max got told about Peter Parker being Spider-Man by Green Goblin off screen.
Well, yeah, he doesn't know an Amazing Spider-Man 2, huh?
Yeah, and that's why, and like the line with Jamie Foxx at the end right there, where he's like, "Oh man, I thought you were gonna be black." And it was like, what? Mm-hmm. But that would have made more sense if in an adjacent universe he was from like a Miles Morales universe, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But even then, if he knew Miles Morales, that he wouldn't know Peter Parker, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, if it's a Miles universe where Peter Parker died and was outed as Spider-Man, like in Spider-Verse or something.
Yeah, because in the PlayStation games, they're both there.
But I don't know. I think that's more the same nitpickiness I had with like Endgame and how time travel stuff worked in that movie. That's kind of my same issue I have here, is that they didn't think all the way through how they were going to explain all the characters getting pulled in. They were just like, yeah, they all know he's Peter Parker. And I'm like, yeah, but some of them don't.
Well, I also kind of thought, I was like, part of me, maybe it wouldn't have been good, but part of me was like, okay, well, if you were just going to pull in people that know who Peter Parker is, it's like you could have done a few more cameos from the other films. That would have been fun.
I thought we were going to get double Jonahs. I thought we were going to get 2 Jonah Jamesons.
Yeah, I kind of thought that at one point. I was
so stoked for that. I thought we were going to get the one from Raimi, like just popping up somewhere, like maybe he's in like a barber shop or something, and then like the other one comes in to like get his mustache trimmed, and they're like, what?
They could have even done like a throwaway line of J. Jonah like being like wrapping up one story, like saying something like, there's clones running around, or like there's an imposter of me, or something like that, like that at least could have like been fun. I was hoping that, actually I don't know if he's still alive, but Ditkovich, I was hoping that the landlord from Spider-Man 2
oh my god, that would have been great.
Yeah. There was 2 opportunities for that, either initially when there's like a knock at the door for Aunt May's house, or at the end, although obviously wouldn't have made sense to be the same Ditkovich. Oh yeah, because at the end he talks about rent. He's like, "Oh, rent's due on the 1st."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah.
Could have been him.
He's still around. He's 71 currently, but that would have been great. I would have loved.
Yeah, that would have been fun. Or Mr. Aziz, right? He could have
been. Like... Oh man, yeah. There were some good options they could have had to bring in some more cameos, but.
So, do we just want to jump around, or do we want to go through anything particular?
Yeah, we'll swing around this movie, man.
I feel like the biggest thing we have to talk about is like just the Toby, Andrew, and Tom dynamic and all of that stuff.
Can we just get out of the way real quick? That Daredevil was in this, and it's not as good as the Netflix show, but it's still cool that he's around, I guess.
No, I thought it was cool. Yeah.
Well, that's a whole conversation. Actually, is Daredevil both being introduced, like this show being introduced into the MCU via this and Kingpin. Spoilers for Hawkeye.
Yeah.
In the same week.
Yeah, that was planned for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
It's weird though, because like Kingpin is very different in Hawkeye than how he is portrayed in the rest of Daredevil.
Yep.
Like Matt's pretty solid in this. I mean, there's not like a lot that happens, but he feels like the same guy. He looks like the same guy. My only issue is that with that is like if this were any other movie, you would have seen that and been like, oh, that's really cool. This is a setup for him to help in the third act, right?
For him to show back up. Yeah, that's my biggest complaint with that is that he just disappears.
Yeah, and it's because it's overshadowed by Toby and Andrew showing up. Then nobody thinks about it. But imagine they didn't show up. You would have been like, well, so Daredevil's going to show up and help at the end, right? Like at any moment. And maybe that was like a plan at one point. You know, like maybe that's why they did that. Is like it was insurance in case it didn't pan out. But
I wonder if like if we can't get Toby or Andrew for whatever reason, we can always fall back on having Daredevil be the secondary.
If we could only get Toby or Andrew, then you also have Daredevil and do 3. But 4 is too many.
If he was going to show up in the third act, he would have had to shown up in the second act as Daredevil. Because my only thing is, how is Daredevil going to get to the Statue of Liberty when all that's going down in a reasonable time before everything's over?
Well, I mean, he broadcasts his location, right? Spider-Man.
Oh, that is true, right? Yeah.
And it could have just been like he shows up as Daredevil, then there's like some comment that's a parallel to something he said earlier in the movie.
Yep.
Or he's like, oh, how'd you know to be here? And he could have been like, I'm a good lawyer, like again. And he'd be like, oh, hey, that's what he said before.
Yeah. But no, yeah, he's set up there for the Echo show. So, you know, because that's the rumor. He's going to help Echo out, I guess, Kingpin stuff? Who cares?
How are they going to communicate?
Yeah. I like it as just him being in the universe.
If they make the Echo show like that old Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor movie where one of them's blind and one of them's deaf, like that'd be great. That's just give me a comedy show.
The Echo actress would have to have some charisma for that to happen.
That's true. That's true.
So,
yeah.
It would be cool if Daredevil showed up in one of the next 3 films that they plan to do with Tom Holland, but also the setup isn't really there anymore since now he wouldn't know Peter Parker, right? So I guess Peter knows him, so he could always be like, oh, hey, I really need some help. I remember you were like a really cool blind guy, so maybe you can help me. But
yeah, you caught a brick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really fun to see him in the movie, though, and I definitely think he felt more like his character than Kingpin did.
What did you guys think of Toby in this?
I liked the scene where he stopped Tom from killing.
He did?
From killing Green Goblin. I thought that was a good moment. Like that was a fun moment because it's it's all communicated through like visual, like eye looking and faces and stuff, and they don't even have to say anything. And I'm like, that's a pretty good moment. That's a powerful spot moment right there. That's pretty good. But I thought Toby was kind of
underwhelming.
Yeah, he was just kind of around. I don't know. And I've heard this criticism that you don't really get a good glimpse into what happened past the Spider-Man movies that are out currently for both of the actors.
Oh, yeah.
Because all they talk about are stuff that happened in their movies.
Yeah.
But they don't talk about anything that happened
Not
after.
Andrew Garfield, though. He talked about post Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Did he?
But
What did he
it was that moment.
Rhino,
it was that moment of him saying he took a darker path and started
Oh, I guess, you
doing all
get a
that
little...
stuff.
That's, like, the biggest tease you get from him is that part. But for Toby's
Yeah.
side, it's just like, me and MJ stayed together and we worked it out. And that's all you get.
Yeah, I mean, a big criticism that I have for their inclusion is that it does make it feel like nothing happened this whole time, with the exception of that comment from Andrew Garfield. But the problem is also that they're like, oh, what villains did you guys fight? And it's just all the, like, between the villains we're seeing now and the comments they made, it makes it seem like they never fought another supervillain ever again.
Yeah, it's like after Sandman and Green Goblin go down in Spider-Man 3, like, that's it? Like, that's the end for Toby fighting bad guys? Like, I don't believe that. Not for a second.
What about Voltress, bro? Come on, Toby.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you were supposed to fight a vulture person. And then also,
supposed to fight like real Mysterio.
Yeah, he was supposed to capture Bruce Campbell.
Yeah. So the other thing was what he said about MJ, right? So it's like, oh, like, what's going on with you? And he just goes, oh, it's complicated. But then he also says that, oh, we worked things out. But the problem with that is the only reason he says it's complicated is because he's making a reference, because that's a line he says in the other movies. Which is something else that bothered me, is like half of the dialogue of all of the nostalgia characters is quotes that is things they already said, and they're just references from the other movies rather than new dialogue.
I'm something of a memer myself.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. It's not. That wasn't like a catchphrase of his. You know, he just said it at one point.
But it was a meme.
It's a meme, so it's got to be in this one.
But it's beyond that, because so much of their dialogue is repeat lines of everybody.
There was a part where I stepped out of the theater because I had to go to the bathroom, and I was so mad because it was right when they got to like the science lab to like start building all the stuff to like stop the bad guys. Like all 3 Spider-Men were in there, and did they say pizza time at any point during that?
No.
No.
Okay,
no.
good. There was no pizza time.
Yeah. It was mostly Ned talking to Andrew and Toby, asking them questions. And they brought up the line about like their best friends turning evil and stuff,
which was really bad because so he goes to Toby and he's like, "Oh, did you have a best friend?" And he said, "Yeah, I did, until he tried to kill me and then he died." And it's like, whoa.
But they were best friends.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure you mean he sacrificed himself for you
to save you from Venom.
Yeah, he tried to. They fought like once.
Well, and they have that whole moment where
they
have that whole moment where they like hold hands and they're looking at the sunset, and it's like a whole thing, you know.
Well, and so Toby just says, "Oh, it's very sad or very tragic or something like that," and it just seems like he's not talking to something that happened to him, but to somebody else.
Yeah, it's very weird.
So that feels weird. I do think that their best. I think the best interaction between all of them was the web shooter moment. I thought that was the most like genuine feeling interaction, whereas that wasn't relying on a reference. Okay. But even they even the like oh my back hurts, like it's like that's another reference to Spider-Man 2.
I liked that part. I didn't mind the back thing.
It seemed like a lot.
Well, I liked that it wasn't just like a one and done reference line. Like they actually had like a whole bit where like Andrew helps him like crack his back and stuff, and like I dug that. I was like, okay, that's pretty. They extended it out and they made a contextual thing out of it.
I think the thing that made it worse was the next set of dialogue that they shared, where
oh no, you're amazing.
Yeah, like that. This whole like self-help scene was really awkward, and it got to the point where it felt like an SNL skit.
You know the meta behind that, Shelby?
No, I don't. What is that?
You know, after all the hate from Amazing Spider-Man 2, Andrew Garfield on record has said like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm like the worst Spider-Man. I'm sorry I ruined everything for you guys," and all that stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's got like a whole thing where he's on like a bad trip about it. Yeah.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense with some of the lines like that he would do like towards the end, where it's just like he seems like a little wacky for his version of Spider-Man sometimes. I mean, you know, like the "I love you guys" bit was good and all that.
Yep.
I love just some of the way he talked. I was like, that's a little weird.
Well, there's some bits where it's like it feels like that he was trying to fit more in with MCU stuff, because he's like, I can be jokey too. I'm not just a brooder. Like, I can do the jokes. So bring me into the MCU, please. Like, it was almost like his audition for like coming back into the MCU to an extent.
Well, so he says something like, "Oh man, you guys did all this cool stuff. Like, compared to you guys, I'm lame, right?" And then he goes, "No, don't say that, right? Oh, you're amazing, right?" And like to me, the way that I saw him saying that was just like he's trying to give a compliment to the other guys, right? He's just going like, "Oh, you guys are really cool. Like, you guys are awesome. I'm lame." Like, that's just a normal thing that people say. That's not like a weird thing. But then they have Toby go like, whoa, don't say that. No, hey, don't say that about yourself. That's self-talk. Don't do that. And I thought it was so weird. I was like, whoa, dude. Like, what are you, like, really into, like, mental health or something? Like, it was very strange. And Toby never really acted like that in
Spider-Man.
Yeah, so it was weird.
Because if anything, Toby should be the mopiest of the three.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, like, yeah, the stuff that Andrew Garfield Spider-Man went through is pretty crap, and like he deals with some pretty heavy stuff. But I always feel like he's a lot more aloof than Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker ever was.
Yeah,
like Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker is so melodramatic.
Yeah, the first line in the franchise is, "This story is not for the faint of heart."
Yeah, exactly.
So, if you thought this was a happy little story or whatever it is, it's not.
And it still kind of ends up being pretty happy and positive, but also like he's pretty mopey throughout all of his movies. Like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is probably the mopiest of the three. So I don't know. Yeah, that was weird. If anything, Tom should have been the one saying that. I think Tom Holland Spider-Man being like, "No, man, you're totally cool. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Like that coming out of his mouth would have made far more sense. Mm-hmm. But then it would have been one less line of dialogue for Tobey Maguire to say.
That again, it goes back to the meta of like, you know, like, I'm sorry, I'm not the real Spider-Man like Tobey is, or whatever else he was saying, you know. So kind of like when I saw that, I'm like, wow, they're really doing this right now, huh? I'm like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely some big meta stuff in here. I still think for the most part I like all their scenes together, like even if some of the dialogue's a little cringy.
Tobey was always known for being very expressive in his movies. I mean, that's why we have so many memes from just his faces.
Yeah.
And
gonna put some dirt in your eye.
Well, and in this movie, the whole time he seemed like he just woke up. Hey, wake up, just say this real quick. And then he goes like, what? Yeah, this thing.
Oh yeah,
it's just like hardly awake. And
he had a very Bill Murray kind of vibe going on, like where it was like, I'm going to do this scene, but I'm going to sit down, though, for the whole scene. I'm just going to sit over here in this chair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a reason why he didn't show up first.
I thought the scene at the end didn't really make any sense when the scene you said you liked where he stops the glider attack. Mm-hmm. Here's why the reasons why I don't think it works is, first of all, Tom Holland being like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, I don't care, you killed my mom bit, right?
Uh-huh.
He's like fully committed to killing him. But then like a minute later, he's like, cool, toss me the serum, let's go. And he's just chill about it. But he was so ready to do it, which didn't really make sense for the arc that he supposedly went through. That, you know, learning from Aunt May and the spider guys and everything. It just seemed weird to be like suddenly reverse that. But then he switches right back to being like, oh no, I'm good now.
Well, we don't have an entire season 3 of Daredevil to build that up for him, right? Like we have one scene where he's in the rain and he decides to lose his moral compass for a minute, and then he gets it back in the next 30 minutes. Like I don't know. It was similar to like how Daredevil goes to kill Kingpin at the end of season 3 and then doesn't.
Before going in, he's like, yeah, you know what, these guys are right, I shouldn't be doing this. But then when you just see Willem Dafoe there, and then he says those lines, and it's just like, the rage kicks back in. I mean, that's
well, I think it would have been fine if he was just like starting to take it too far, right, and getting caught up in the moment, especially with Goblin taunting him. But he doesn't. He's just kind of like, oh no, I was just trying to get you over here to kill you. That's like what he says. But the thing that I really don't like about it is when Tobey just hops in and grabs the glider. And the thing that I think is the two things that are really bad about it is, one, Tobey's expressionless face. He just kind of like stares off into the distance rather than having any real emotion in his face.
See, like I thought the opposite. I thought Tobey had good expression going on, but that might be a subjective thing. I don't know.
I thought Tom was like really acting the hell out of the scene and like super emotional, and then Tobey just shows up and he just looks like a random shot of him looking off into the distance. Maybe a little strained, like maybe he's going to the bathroom a little bit or something. It's very, I don't know.
See, I got more out of that than you did, but that could just be a subjective deal.
The other thing is the placement or choreography of everybody doesn't really make any sense because Tom Holland is like 5 feet tall and Tobey is not, and somehow I don't know if you have, I don't remember if it's in the movie or if it's from a behind the scenes, but there's a shot of them from afar rather than a close-up. And so Tom has the glider overhead and is like stabbing down, and in order for with any other normal height people, the other person could just stand in front of you and like grab your arms or grab the glider and like hold it back. But because Tom is so short and Tobey is so normal height, he has to go down on his knees in order to grab the glider, and it's very awkward.
That would have been kind of interesting to show it from an actual wide shot perspective if they had shown that scene.
No, they did. That's what I'm saying. or that's I don't remember if it's behind the scenes or if it's actually in the movie, but I know I've seen it online.
Yeah,
and it looks very awkward to me. So because I feel like, well, if in what would actually happen, because he's taller than me, he would just push the glider back from above, from like normal height, not go underneath it.
Yeah,
and be at a he's at a normally at an advantageous level by being taller. Mm-hmm. So why would you go like underneath and like and then him getting stabbed? I was like, for a second there, I was like, are they really? They're not going to kill Toby right now?
I had like a minute there where I was like, are they going to really kill him? Like, no way! Like, that's so mean. Yeah, that would have sucked.
And I don't know if there's any truth to it, but I had heard from people just gossiping, saying like, oh yeah, initially they were planning to have him die in that scene, and then he tested so well that they were like, all right, we'll keep Toby around.
Good, yeah, because that would have been just the worst decision. Like,
yeah, I would have walked out right there. Yeah. I mean, I know it's the end of the movie, but I would have been done. Like, nope.
Yeah, like there's no reason to finish it. Like, no reason. Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a problem with that scene still. It still works for me. Like, and I feel like some of the weirdness of like how that was shot and stuff probably comes from the fact that they weren't ever. I don't know if Tom and Toby were ever actually in the same room together, like while shooting, because I heard a lot of the scenes with the other Spider-Men were shot remotely, not like remotely like over like Zoom or whatever, but they were shot like very separate and then pieced together with CG and stuff later on.
Yeah, because of COVID, right?
Because of COVID, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This movie's got some
pretty stupid.
And there's a lot of scenes in this movie like that where you can tell that they like people aren't in the same room or talking to each other. There's like a lot of bits of the movie where you can see it, like if you have the eye for it. If you have the eye for it, I think you can see it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the bigger thing too is that there's so much close-ups of people's faces rather than wider shots, including both characters, and that's a big indication of that. I got the image also.
Oh, I have seen this. Yeah. I guess from a film perspective on that, it's just it makes more sense for him to make eye contact with Tom Holland to stop him from doing that.
Yeah. It would have been, what would have been kind of interesting is if there had been like a little bit more of a struggle to it. Like maybe Toby comes in first behind him and tries to web up the glider to like stop Tom from pushing it down. And then Tom keeps going and like starts to rip the web.
Yeah.
And that's where Toby like flips around, gets underneath, and stops it at just the last second. Like you add just that little extra moment of interaction there to it.
Yeah.
And it just adds like a whole nother layer to what's going on. Like that could have worked pretty well.
That would have been really cool, actually. That's
have it be Andrew Garfield who webs the glider to like stop him, but he can't quite hold it, and that's when Toby has to slide in and like hold it back. So it's both Spider-Men working against Tom to stop him from killing the Goblin.
Yeah, that's actually something interesting to think about, because often in team up movies they have a bit where they have to fight each other, right? So he fought Doctor Strange, but he never fights the other Spider-Man. And
Andrew and Toby are the only ones who fight for like a hot second. Like that's it. Like
they do the exchange.
Yeah, like when they show up.
They just shoot webs at each other for a second, right?
Yeah, at Ned's grandma's house. And,
that was awesome. Yeah, I really liked that.
Like that was great. Yeah. I didn't like that it was at Ned's grandma's house, but I loved the scene. Yeah. I loved them meeting each other. I hated
Andrew on the Andrew on the ceiling was great.
Andrew on the ceiling was awesome. Like
yeah. I think it did last a little too long though.
Hey, you know what? I don't care that it was too long because it's more Andrew Garfield. I'm cool with it. You know what? Like as soon as Andrew Garfield popped up, I was like, I don't need any of the other people in this movie, just you.
Yeah, he's so good. I'll literally watch any Spider-Man thing that he does going forward, even if it looks stupid.
Oh yeah,
just because he was so good. He's
just so good at being Spider-Man.
He just comes out the gate with so much charisma and energy, and.
So I thought for like a second when Toby popped up that they weren't going to put him back in the suit.
I did too, yeah.
I was honestly kind of excited about it. I was like, because he doesn't need the suit to do the Spider-Man stuff. Like there's nothing on the suit that helps him. So I thought that would have been kind of neat. But they put him back in the suit anyway because you gotta.
I did like that he had it on under his clothes because that's a very Toby thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, it also makes sense to what he was saying, right? He was actually looking for Tom Holland. so that way he could talk to him, especially after the Aunt May moment.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about Aunt May.
This is the only one she's good in. This is it. They finally managed to make her a character, and they kill her off.
and if she was if she was this character in the other four
two
movies that she shows up, well, she's also in Civil War, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
she is. Yeah, that's right.
If she was the same character in all of these, that would have been cool. But she's not at all. She's actually like the opposite. And
don't even get me started about how cringy she is in Far From Home, man. She's so bad.
Yeah,
her and Happy's whole thing is just, oh my god, it's so like.
You're not a fan.
I just don't like a lot of the cringy stuff in Far From Home. The comedy of it is not good. I like the main story of Far From Home, and I love Mysterio, but I like the teen comedy stuff they're doing in that one. Terrible.
I would almost say the opposite, at least for the Aunt May and Happy stuff, because with the opening scene of this movie of how chaotic it was, and then that being brought into there. When they're walking back inside and they broke up kind of stuff. I thought that all that was great.
Oh, well, that was a good callback. Like that's fine for this movie. Like,
yeah, but that type of humor and stuff, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Like that's how I know this movie's going to be a good one just because of how it started. But,
100%. I'm talking about.
Yeah, I never hated that. I never hated that stuff.
It's okay. Yeah,
I know we have different views on the other Holland films.
Yeah.
I don't really like Far From Home. I like parts of it, and the Mysterio, the attempt, in concept, I like the Mysterio and Tom Holland, or Peter, brotherhood thing they kind of have going on for a minute there, but I don't really like the execution.
I like his, he takes over as the surrogate father figure, for Peter. Those bits of it are really cool, and then he gets real cringy when he's talking about all the stuff Tony Stark did to him and the barf technology and stuff. You know, the scene where Mysterio's putting him through all the different imagery things of stuff, it's a good scene, but it's all just computer generated. There's nothing real about any of it. But you know what? It looked good, and it wasn't too confusing to look at like Transformers movies can be. So I was like, I can still tell where stuff's on the screen at, so I dig it. And I think the same goes for this movie. I like the CGI in this movie. It's much better used. And I think even if they did have to film a lot of these actors and stuff separately in a lot of scenes, they did a good job of blending everything together for the most part. You can definitely tell when all of the bad guys are getting trapped in rooms in Dr. Strange's basement. Those are all scenes that are definitely shot separately,
some technical difficulties like anybody else. On Shelby's
but they all flow still pretty naturally.
The episode,
I think they still work.
We lost part of his recording, so we're going to keep bits and pieces of me and Jake talking, and it's gonna sound out of place and weird because we're not getting the feedback from Shelby and the conversation, but I wanted to keep some of these parts in there because I'm pretty sure we don't go back to those moments, and just wanted to keep it in there. So I'll try to edit it as best I can to make it sound cohesive, but if there's some weird cuts into points we're talking about, that's the reason why. So thanks, guys. Let's go back into the episode.
Oh yeah, because they updated her in the last movie to be to have the feast stuff from the PS4 game. Yeah, so that she has like the Feast Foundation, which is like the helping homeless people thing, and that came from the PS4 game, but didn't flesh out in any way. Because in the games, it makes much more sense.
That's how she is in Far From Home. She's like the cool mom.
Yep.
She's not like that at all in Homecoming, though.
But she's not like anything in Homecoming because she's barely in the movie.
That is the problem with the Aunt May and the MCU is that this movie she has the most screen time out of anything, but that's still not even a lot.
Well, and I posted the article in the Instagram chat, but they revealed there was a deleted scene for Homecoming where they would have talked about Uncle Ben. Like, it was shot and everything.
Yeah.
And it was going to be a whole bit. And I'm like, see, that's the thing we needed. And for what I would imagine is a sizable amount of money from Tony Stark to do these things. Because Tony Stark is the one who shows up and she starts getting all up on Tony for a minute there. Like in Civil War. But But yeah, I don't know. She's good in this one though, so that's cool, and that's fine. Like, yeah,
yeah.
But Aunt May, like, yeah, getting up for like a hot second and then falling back down was kind of funny. I was like, she should have just stayed on the ground.
I think the way they did it was fine.
It's fine, but
then her just laying down on there, because then that means, I think that would mean you would get less dialogue between them in that moment, because he would already be at the moment like, "May, like, what's wrong?" And then she's just gonna say only a few lines and then dies. But she talks to him more often. Like, she made sure Peter was fine, and she was being the mom, basically, like making sure things are okay, kind of thing. Whereas if she was just down for the count from the jump, then you wouldn't get that much.
Well, and I think that contextually makes sense because of what has happened in like the past 2 movies he was in right before this, like with Endgame and Far From Home, is that he's not thinking anymore on like a smaller scale of how to accomplish stuff, because he's had Tony Stark in his corner helping him out with stuff. He's had the Avengers themselves being on his side with stuff. So, like, the first thing he thinks of is not going to the actual authority figure for the school. He thinks of the authority figures he has in his life, which are the other superheroes. Which, I guess, it sort of works also on, like, a meta level, where it's like, he doesn't know how to be the small-scale Spider-Man anymore. He just knows how to be...
Yeah,
he just knows how to be Spider-Man within the parameters of the MCU, which would be like, yeah, this, if you had those things open to you, you wouldn't first think about going to talk to the advisor or whatever. You'd be like, how can I fix this in a way that's like that only like my big superhero friends could fix it? And it's like, oh, Doctor Strange, there we go. Like, and still like has a little bit of that naive teenagerness to him, I guess. Yeah, where was Pepper? Where was... Morgan was in this movie, but she got cut. Yeah, she posted some stuff from the red carpet premiere.
I hope we get that deleted scene soon.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I heard about some other ones, like with some other villains or something. I was trying to remember. It was the Big Sunday Movies on YouTube. They did a whole video about all the deleted scenes from it. Yeah, there was going to be like there's the Craven one. Yeah, but just in the context of this version of the movie, there was going to be some other characters who popped up. Like, I think like some other cameos or something.
I mean, remember, Shelby, Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't even remember she was in Homecoming.
Yeah, she doesn't remember the movies that she's been in.
Plus, I'm sure she's like, "Oh, Endgame, we're done? Okay, cool, I'm done. I probably won't come back."
Oh, okay, I'll put the armor on for one movie. Yeah, that never goes anywhere in this movie, does it? Like, Stark Industries is totally under investigation and nothing happens from it. It's only set up to have that miracle machine show up in Happy's apartment. Like, that's all it's for.
Well, no, but that was there before the investigations.
Yeah, it was in the plane.
Yeah, like, the Happy just kept that in his apartment.
Yeah, but they tease it, like, in this movie, is they're like, oh, we're investigating a giant package that wasn't found in all of the Tony Stark blah 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 stuff.
Well, if you watch Hawkeye, you'll know that stuff was
missing.
Oh,
whatever. Oh boy. To me, that's something that's going to feed into Multiverse of Madness, is that maybe not everything with the spell that Strange cast right at the end there was perfect. Like, it's like, yeah, some stuff isn't going to have some consequences. That would be nice. And that's what the ending of this movie kind of does, right? Is that it just completely disconnects it from the rest of it, because they set Spider-Man up to be Spider-Man from the comic books, like down to the costume that he wears in that final scene, which I loved. That was my favorite thing. I was like, Marvel's gonna spoil the crap out of this movie the day after it's out, and literally the next day, the trailer with that stupid end of the movie suit was everywhere. Because they had to make it like a Christmas advertisement. And there's a Christmas tree in that scene, so it's the only scene they can use to advertise it for Christmas, but it spoils the end of the movie, like, entirely.
I mean, but at the same time, it's just the suit, though, right? Because he always gets a new suit anyways. It's the MCU.
Well, yeah, but, like, it's just, I don't know, the marketing decision behind that is just so funny to me, when it's just like, it's the big final swing for Spider-Man through the city. It's just like putting the Rhino scene into the Amazing Spider-Man trailers. Like to me they're around the same level. I think because seeing him have a much more comic book accurate suit really indicates things about how this movie goes. You know what I mean? Like, because all of his suits are so technologically advanced that it's like, why would he ever go back to a suit like that when he has the connections that he does?
At the same time, though, the scene is so fast, you never get a clear look at the suit anyway.
That's true. I wonder if it's more him trying to sympathize with Peter. Like, even though he doesn't know Peter, he can tell that the pain is a lot stronger for him, and maybe that's more what he's meaning? Yeah, no, Happy's not the same character as what he used to be. He had one little glimmer of hope, like back in Far From Home, like the scene where they're on the plane and
yeah, good scene.
That's a great scene, like where he's talking to Spider, like talking to Peter, and they're having like that whole convo of like, well, what are you gonna do about it? Like I loved that. I thought that was a great moment because it's like,
yeah,
you know, I always thought Happy should have like that. I always thought that should have been more of a thing they played up in Far From Home. Is like, well, yeah, Happy's trying to fill that space that Tony was there for Peter, and he can't quite do it. Like, he can't figure it out, and like that's part of the reason why they like there should have been a little bit more struggle about him like dating Aunt May and stuff, and like that could have been like a whole extra like layer to it. Is that like he's also trying to be Peter's new dad basically because he knows that Tony's gone. And you would get a lot more development there with that, but instead they were just like, yeah, no. And then it would even play better when Peter meets Mysterio for the first time, and it's like the fake father figure. And by the end of the movie, he realizes that the father figure he should have been looking up to this whole time was Happy. Like, Happy was the one who actually cared and gave a shit, and like, and that way you actually involve Happy in like the final fight scene and stuff too. Like, you could have a whole bit with that where it's like, you know, like that would have been awesome. And there's probably like whispers of that in that movie, but not enough to actually connect anything. And like, what's he doing? Like, like where is he? Like,
well, yeah, he's being the awkward guy that Tom kind of knows that dated his aunt for a bit. Like, that's this whole gimmick since really the beginning. But you have to remember, it stems from the Civil War joke, like, wow, your aunt's absurdly hot, and all the memes about her being the youngest aunt out of all the Spider-Men.
Which was, what,
in the movies.
6 years ago now? 7 years ago? How long ago was that at this point? I don't even know.
Yeah, but that's her character. She's the cool, hot aunt to Peter Parker.
Yep. Because it would have been, Happy having a little bit more serious times in both this movie and Far From Home would have been great. Like, just having him more involved in any way, shape, or form.
I think it just comes down to how loaded this movie is already.
Well, that and it's, you know, Jon Favreau's a director. He's like, I'll do like 3 scenes. Well, he was originally going to do Iron Man 3, even if it didn't underperform, but he wanted to do more acting in the third one, so Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau were both friends with Shane Black, because they've all 3 of them have worked on like a bunch of movies together, like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and a bunch of other stuff. So that's why Shane Black got brought in, and like Jon Favreau, I think still did some directing on that movie, but it was mainly Shane Black handling Iron Man 3. Well, I wonder if it's that, or if it's like he can only be in so much because, and all of Star Wars. He's doing Boba Fett also. Yeah, he's
cool.
He's a big influence on the Book of Boba Fett also. So he's just become like the main runner, I think, for a lot of Star Wars stuff. So they're like, small parts, funny scenes. You get little funny moments. Is that cool? And he's probably like, yeah. He's like, I get to come back in and play the character a couple more times. That's all I care about. We were talking about Green Goblin, not Hobgoblin. Okay. Oh, he's spectacular, man. He's so good. It's really tough because it's hard to know like how, because all these characters feel like they got pulled out like from different times in the movies.
Well, they say exactly when they get pulled during when they're all having their conversation.
Yeah,
I think right when they were like, oh wait, I die? What are you talking about? I'm dead. And then Doc Ock says like, oh, I had Peter right in my hands, and then I'm here. Same thing.
But
with
see that
Electro.
but that doesn't imply to me that like it's the part where Doc Ock is like right at the end of the movie. Like that feels more like Doc Ock like halfway through the movie, like maybe like the train fight, because there's a couple times where he's got Peter pretty much on the ropes, Man, if they had just said it wasn't because they knew you were Peter Parker, but it's because they know Spider-Man, everything would have made so much more sense. Like they know Spider-Man, so they're coming here. Like, that's all it had to be. Not that they know you're Peter Parker, just that they know Spider-Man.
Well, so, but all that being said, I think Green Goblin totally fits with his character.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it just, it feels like a very solid expansion pack onto Spider-Man 1. And it's really cool to see what they could do now with the effects that they're in like stunts they can do. Because, like, his level of insanity and intensity is amazing. And Tom Holland being able to just go all out on him and like finally having a villain he can do that with. Yeah. Because like everybody else he fought is just normal guys.
Yep, they're all just regular people. I mean, he punches Doc Ock pretty hard in the face in this movie, and Doc Ock still doesn't die.
Yeah.
But you know, Doc Ock took Tobey Maguire's punches pretty well too, and I was like, he's still just a guy, isn't he? Like.
Yeah, that's always been like a big criticism of Spider-Man 2, where you're like, wait,
but Doc Ock
hit like a lot,
and he's just a guy. Like,
yeah.
I guess maybe you could make an argument that he can take the hits a little harder because he's got the metal spine thing. I don't know. Like,
I mean, you could say that he's got like mess up nerves because of it.
Yeah. Like, there's something about that.
Pain receptors like are like. Like somehow the robot is overriding his pain receptors and he doesn't feel it.
So it's like,
but he would still take the
damage. It's a little bit like
Kick-Ass.
Kick-Ass. Like Kick-Ass. Yeah, like how Kick-Ass can't feel the hits. Yeah.
But Kick-Ass still gets really hurt.
Yeah,
in the comic at least.
He still gets way injured, but he just doesn't.
He gets wrecked so hard in the comics, man. Yeah. Yeah, Holland and Dafoe's fight scenes was great.
Oh, when they're throwing each other through the floors and the walls, and then there's the part where like Peter's just up on him and punching him, and then like Green Goblin just like looks up at him and is like, ha ha ha, and I'm like, my god, that's the Goblin I've been waiting for so long. I gotta say, I appreciate Willem Dafoe for being like, doing my own stunts or I'm not doing it. Like either I get to do the stunts or I'm not in. And I was like, hell yeah, man, that's awesome.
He really seemed like he had a lot of fun with it too.
Yeah, like you know, I'm super stoked that the other Spider-Men were in this movie, but holy crap, he was just so good. And I love like how they introduce him breaking the helmet.
A very Spider-Man 2 nod. Yeah.
Also sort of a meta thing of like, we know you don't want to see this helmet, so we're going to get rid of it like right away.
Right. Yeah.
We're just going to have it be his face because his face works. I was honestly kind of hoping we'd get to see that old prosthetic makeup make an appearance. Yeah. I was kind of hoping for that for just like a second, and I was like, will they do it? No, they didn't do it.
I like the scene at Feast where he's explaining like what everything is different here and how confused he is.
Yeah. Like how like
cool.
the regular Norman comes back for like a hot second. Like
he was a little too when he turned into normal Norman, he was a little too pathetic because Norman wasn't like a meek guy.
Yeah,
it works at the end for him to be like, oh god, what did I do?
Being the played Norman, like the Norman from the end of the movie where he's like, where Peter's got him on the ropes and he's like, Peter, stop! He's coming back out of me and I can't stop him. You gotta help me, Peter. Like it's like that version of Norman Osborn. Yeah, it's
that's true.
Yeah, it's not real Norman. I didn't think for a second that he was actually like in control of it. Like Goblin was 100% in control the whole time, which is great. Like it made it so threatening.
The spider sense scene was really good. I love that when it goes off and he doesn't know what it is indicating at first, and he's just walking through the apartment.
Oh yeah, like he doesn't know who the bad guy is. Like he's like surrounded by villains, but he doesn't know which one is triggering it. Like, loved that.
Everything about it, the way they filmed it, the audio mixing with it was fantastic.
Yeah, like that was awesome. That was like.
Does it use the same spider sense sound from? Toby's. Spider-Man 2?
I think so, yeah. It goes into the same Toby sound.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was like, it started up and I was like, I didn't like that Andrew Garfield called it the tingly thing.
Yeah. Well, that's because
I know.
Zendaya said it was the tingle.
Yeah, I know. And he's like, I got the tingly thing too. I was like, you have never called it that once. That was my only bit about that. I loved that whole spider sense scene, and I love that it's like right after he fixes Doc Ock too. And I love that. I love that Doc Ock goes back to just being like, how do I help? Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm a scientist again. Also, can we talk about Doc Ock and Norman, like, seeing each other?
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about.
Just getting, like, on-screen, like, interactions between the two of them is so interesting because they never got to do it in the original series. So, and, like, Dr. Octopus being like, but you died. You're dead. Like, you're not around. You're dead. Like, and Norman being like, that's not true. What? What are you talking about? Like, that was great.
And it makes sense that in, like, prior to becoming villains, they would know each other just in their subculture, basically.
Yeah,
in
like
their industry.
Both of them being like scientists and tech.
Yeah, very
tech
prominent scientists in New York. Yeah. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Although, did you notice? So he's like, oh yeah, Norman was a brilliant scientist, right? And then immediately after that, Electro was talking about Lizard, and he's like, oh, Kurt Connors, a brilliant scientist.
Yep.
And I thought I was like, why does he just copy the line? It's so weird.
Yeah,
it's very
like the same line. Yeah. Huh. Also, I don't remember. Is Kurt Connors? Isn't he just a?
No, he works at he works at Oscorp. He's like a big he's a researcher on reptilia.
Okay. I think you're thinking of I think Tobey Spider-Man, because isn't Connors?
Yeah, Connors is just a college.
Yeah, the college.
Yeah, he's just a college professor in the Tobey ones. Yeah,
a one-armed college professor.
Yes.
Yeah,
he was supposed to. He was supposed to be the villain in Spider-Man 5. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
It was going to be Vulture and Mysterio in 4, and then the Lizard would have been the 5th movie.
Yeah. And there was even talks at one point of filming 4 and 5 back to back.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Man, I saw a clip the other day with Tobey talking about number 4. Man.
Oh yeah, right before it gets canceled.
Such a bummer. Where he's just like, next year, starting in February, we're gonna begin filming. I was like, oh man, he's so excited. Like, you could tell that he was really stoked for it, and then it just never happened.
Well, if anybody doesn't remember how it played out, what had happened was Sony hired. I thought I remembered his name. They hired a screenwriter to write Spider-Man 4, like the initial draft of it. And when they did that, they also hired him to write a treatment for a reboot. And so that's why, as soon as talks fell through, because what it was
they went with the reboot script instead.
Yeah, so they had gone through like a few, like some talks, right? So they had to re-sign everybody for this movie.
Yeah, which was really expensive.
Yeah, and so they had gone through it for a little while, trying to get everybody back on. And then eventually Sam Raimi was like, oh, we need to delay what the release date of this is going to be, which I think at the time was still the 2012 release date.
Yep.
That Amazing Spider-Man had. And then Sony was like, oh, well, we're not doing that. And so since they couldn't agree, they just shut it down and immediately started up the production of Amazing Spider-Man, which again was why I didn't see it, because it was so soon that I was like, oh no, this is such a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing it pretty close to opening night, but also being like, man, I really do still wish we were getting the other one. But over the years, I've come to appreciate Amazing Spider-Man 1.
We want to see Andrew come back, but would we want to see a Spider-Man 4 now?
I don't know.
Older Spider-Man coming in, fighting. I'm guessing what Vulture and Vulturous, right? For still the main
probably.
villains.
Well, I don't think they would do that now, given that we've already gotten Vulture.
Oh, okay.
I think that would, and maybe Mysterio if Raimi was involved.
Yeah. Okay. I would say just to get the closer with Tobey, just to see life after 3.
Yeah.
And then you could just tease Mayday Parker's a thing in that universe if things were still going well with him and MJ, like you said here.
I guess one of my things is I really feel like Spider-Man 3 was a great conclusion to those Spider-Man movies. It's why I was never super bummed we didn't get a Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man 4 would have been really fun, but I thought 3 was such a good wrap up to all of the arcs and all the characters and everything like that. And it just felt like a really good ending point that I didn't need a fourth movie with Tobey. But whereas with Amazing Spider-Man, it's so open-ended at the end of 2. And he still has such an arc to go through with getting over Gwen's death and and dealing with Harry being the Goblin now and everything. Like, there's so many open ends to Amazing Spider-Man 2 that I'm like, I would want an Amazing Spider-Man 3 long before I'd want a Spider-Man 4.
At least something with him, right? Like, yeah, I would say definitely throw him in Venomverse.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like everyone's saying, because he does fit the most out of these three Spider-Men.
They'd have such good banter, too.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. And especially with our boy, Aaron Taylor Johnson's going to be Craven.
Dude.
There's those talks with Black Cat being Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
I was like,
oh, those would be great picks for Andrew to play off of because he has that range for it.
Those are great casting choices.
There's also a rumor that Spider-Man 4 could happen as an animated film, and that they would just voice it. To which I think just don't do it at that point.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
it could be fun, but I'm also like, Marvel animation has never been that great.
They would do it like into the Spider-Verse animation, is what I've seen people say.
I would say just keep that Peter Parker from Spider-Verse if you want to do solo stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. It doesn't make sense to make it the Tobey Spider-Man.
I also didn't say, but with Tobey, one of the things I don't like, where it feels like nothing has happened in his world since Spider-Man 3, which has been a long time, is I don't like the idea that Tobey and MJ, or Peter and MJ, don't have kids. Like,
they should have children at this point.
Like, the Mayday Parker thing would have been a fun tease to see in here.
Unless what they're going for, which would be nuts, is they do Last Ride with Spider-Man comic store or whatever, where it's like super in the future, and MJ died because Spider-Man's Spider-Man stuff was fully radioactive. Like, that would be a really interesting way to twist the Tobey story.
That's just that wild wonky comic book era.
That one book was so weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bummer to just not have that much extra story at all for Andrew, or for Tobey at all.
I guess because it's just the safest thing to do.
Yeah, if they do want to do another Tobey movie, they could. Yeah, because they don't want to go out and be like, oh well, he fought this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy, and now you'll never see that.
Yeah, a throwaway line like I fought a guy that was what is it, like the wheel guy? What's his name? Like a bunch of those dumb Spider-Man villains. Yeah.
Well, I fought Hammerhead. I fought this guy. I fought that other guy. Don't even get me started about Smythe. It's like, you can do stuff with that.
I do like the bit where Andrew says, like, oh, I want to fight an alien too, man. Like,
he's like, you're from space? That's awesome. Like, oh yeah, like maybe they got to find whoever that universe's like Doctor Strange or Madam Web character is. Like, that'd be really fun.
Madam Web would be cool. Yeah,
I'd love to see Madam Web pop up at some point, man. That would be bananas.
Yeah.
And I know Tom Holland said a thing of like, he said he'd really like to have Madam Web in one of his movies.
I think I'd prefer Venomverse.
Yeah, I would too. I think
MCU.
I think she'd fit better there. She'd just be quipping like crazy if she was in the MCU. She'd probably have a weird, awkward joke too about like, what, you sit in a chair all day, and then she'd stand up and be like, no, I walk around, and it would be really weird and awkward, and no one would really know if they should laugh or not, because that's how half the jokes are now in these movies.
Yeah, because that's what it's going for. Yeah, which is the best part of those.
Kooky, crazy comic book stuff, man. That's what I like about those movies. Like, they're willing to take those risks because they're like, yeah, we're fine.
We haven't mentioned it because we literally don't care, but all the Ned and Zendaya stuff just...
This was the one she was the best in. She's horrible in the other two, but this one she worked really well in.
Oh, man, especially watching clips from Homecoming and just seeing, like, what type of character they were going for with her. It's like, gosh.
Well, and that whole thing still bothers the shit out of me, because MJ in Homecoming was definitely designed to be like, this is not Mary Jane, but we're going to make you think it is, but it's not. It's definitely not her.
But then she says her name's MJ at the end anyways.
Yeah, but it's also like, it's not just that. It's honestly like, it's like spitting in the faces of people who want it to be MJ. Like, even still, like...
That's in the first movie.
It's in the first movie, she's introduced as Michelle, and then at the end of the movie, she calls herself MJ. She's like, my name's Michelle, but my friends call me MJ. It's honestly so confusing as to how they treat it. Like, I don't get it.
And also, like, her actual last name was it Jones Watson or whatever? Like, just to get that in there.
Yep, it doesn't make any sense. They were gonna do MJ in Andrew Garfield's movies. Yeah, Shailene Woodley would have been just the worst. Oh yeah, it's really bad. It would have been really rough.
I like Tom not telling them not trying to convince them that they know each other again.
Oh yeah, like kind of. I like him letting them live their lives like separate from him. Like I really dug that moment. That was a pretty good scene.
And that gives room for other characters to come in too. Like if they want to do Gwen Stacy or I guess Black Cat. Mm-hmm. Though I'd rather it not be Anya Taylor-Joy. Well, at least for MCU.
Well, don't you think she'd be too young to be in Andrews?
Not necessarily. I think she could still.
Oh, really?
Fit.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, I would rather have her for Andrew than what's her name, Felicity Jones.
Yeah, true. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say Felicity Jones was already that character.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she never actually became that character, though, right? Isn't that cut?
No, they just mentioned her name as Felicity Jones.
Or Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy.
Or sorry, yeah, because they both have.
Yeah. Similar names.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I like Doctor Strange in this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. We didn't talk about
Strange at all.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot in this movie. I thought he had some really great scenes. I liked the.
He's good and he's right the whole time. Oh, really?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love the banter he has with Peter. It's very.
Oh, really?
It was very Spider-Man animated series. Like just all their interactions gave me that sense, like super hard.
Yeah, I like the part where he said, like, I forgot we've been through so much that I mean, you're still just a kid at the end of the day.
Yep.
Yeah. I really like that they acknowledge that stuff too because it's it's true. Like all the stuff that they did was a really big deal, and not just like they don't just like know each other, but like they literally fought in like the greatest battle ever.
Yep.
In the universe,
and then
and
then they both like got snapped together and came back at the same time, and they've both been through like the shit together. Like it's like a couple of war buddies, but like one of them's just like much older than the other one. And I just I don't know. Strange in this movie he had that nice like first movie Doctor Strange feel to him still that I really dig. Which I sort of felt like he kind of didn't have in Infinity War so much.
Oh really? Well, he was like way more like serious in a way in Infinity War. Like he was full on like being the Sorcerer Supreme, right?
Yeah.
Rather than being Steven, where in this movie he gets to go back to being Steven as well.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that stupid crap. I hate that. That was dumb. What's that about?
Oh, really? I mean, I guess that makes sense.
I suppose the technicality of it, but
why wouldn't it revert back?
Exactly.
Back?
Exactly. Yes, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's for sure just a little poke for an MCU joke.
I know exactly why they did it, and it's stuff we were talking about before the show.
I wonder if it'll factor into his movie at all.
Well, it factored into Shang-Chi, so because that was a big question I had at the end of Shang-Chi.
Wait, what?
At the end of Shang-Chi,
there's
like a scene that
is Wong in it?
Wong is in Shang-Chi. He's in a couple scenes.
What?
Yeah,
Why?
he shows up in the fight arena.
He's in that scene where he fights Abomination.
Yeah, he's in that part. Him and Abomination are sparring partners, and Wong breaks him out of the raft to go fight in cage matches, I guess. That was a weird relationship. And then at the very end of the movie, Shang-Chi gets picked up by Wong to like go to the Sanctum, and I'm like, Doctor Strange should be in this scene, like talking to them about all this stuff.
Yeah, because Bruce Banner's there, Carol Danvers is there.
Wait, what? Wait. In the Sanctum?
Yeah, well, they're in holograms. They're holograms in the Sanctum. Like it's like how the Avengers talk to each other in Endgame.
Wait, so does this imply that the Avengers exist again now?
If I had to guess, it'd be in the same status as Endgame was, like whatever they were doing.
The whole point is that the Avengers cease to exist after Endgame because it all gets blown up and the two main people are dead, basically.
They contacted Bruce so that way they could analyze what the rings are.
Okay.
And Bruce kind of breaks down what's going on with them. And then Carol is there because this is alien tech, right? Because it came from space, and she's trying to look up into what's going on with that. I think she says the same line, right? Like, "Oh, I gotta go because I'm a busy character."
I have things in space I gotta do, but not things I can tell you about.
Yeah, and then that's when Wong just says like, "Oh, you guys just entered our world, welcome," kind of thing, because now like they have to deal with this situation because the rings are calling something. Or they're sending a message.
Yeah, they're like
space.
sending a signal out or something, and they've been doing that for thousands of years.
What is that setting up?
I don't know, Galactus maybe.
What is Shang-Chi supposed to be part of?
Well, the rings are supposed to be mystic and like have different powers and stuff that they didn't touch on.
Well, and the rings are in the comic books they're alien tech, like they're from space. Like I'm trying to remember what they're from. Are they from? Star-Lord's?
They're from Iron Man.
Are they from Star-Lord's planet? Originally, like in the
you're talking about the animated movie?
No, what?
I don't know.
Well, because I mean, Iron Man does deal with them.
Yeah.
But if I had to guess, like Think Fang Foom and
Mandarin, right?
Well, yeah, the Mandarin.
Are these different? Yeah. Are these not the same thing?
In the
comic book, the Mandarin is still just a guy. He's like a warlord. They actually got the origin story a lot more accurate in this new movie for him because he's still a warlord in the comic books and finds the rings, but they're from like outer space. Like in the comic books, they're the same thing. They're like rings found from space. But I just don't remember where they originated from. I used to know this really good because I read those old Iron Man comics. And I'm trying to remember... Oh, yeah, okay. They're from a dragon race called the Axon Kar, which is where Fin Fang Foom comes from. So they're probably setting...
And well, there's also the dragon.
Yeah, there's a dragon in Shang-Chi, which is pretty cool. It's a neat scene. But it might be setting up for Fin Fang Foom to show up in the future. Which would be cool. I'd be down. Be down for a live action Fin Fang Foom.
But yeah, Strange. Yeah, back to Strange.
Yeah, back to Strange. He's really good. I like how they censored him between the trailers and the movie.
Yeah, some of that fake stuff happening again with the dialogue.
It's interesting, right? Like changing scenes up completely and dialogue changes
and I think that's fine, right? I prefer that.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, I do too. I actually think the idea of like having fake scenes in a trailer rather than actually spoiling real scenes is a good idea. I wish they would do it more for that reason.
Yeah.
That way you don't actually get spoiled. But even like the scene, like Doctor Strange is like, "Oh, they're coming through. I can't hold them back," is like in the trailer, and it doesn't happen till the very end of the movie.
Yeah,
that does feel like a third act type of dialogue, right? Mm-hmm. And then you do get to see a bunch of silhouettes in that scene, and you notice.
I recognize
Rhino,
Scorpion, and then people have been saying the guy with a staff was Kraven. But I liked all his scenes. I liked the way he was doing magic in this movie. He's still doing all the cool hand motion stuff. I like that they haven't just forgotten that that's how he does his spells, is like through crazy hand movement stuff. Like if Ned hadn't been in Homecoming, like that ending would have been so much better, because he would have actually swung through the city like he's supposed to do instead of driving in a stupid car. Oh my god. Anyway. and this one finally gave him some. Finally. He got a few, not a ton, but he got a few. He did get a few. But yeah, Ned's just the worst. Yep. Thank the Lord. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm your best." Like, do you really think he's going to be fully out though, or do you think he's gonna?
I think it depends what they do with Holland in the future, and if they want to do Hobgoblin for Ned.
That's what I was thinking. Like, they have a pretty light reference to Hobgoblin showing up in the future. God, can you imagine that actor playing Hobgoblin though? Yeah.
What's funny, Shelby? That's Amazing Spider-Man 2.
But yeah, that is what they do. Yeah,
that's what they do.
That's the plot of Amazing Spider-Man 2. But they establish in this movie that there is no Oscorp. Oscorp just doesn't exist
yet.
You think Harry exists? I don't know. Oh my god. Like,
yeah, I could see that.
It would. It would.
Well, yeah, because Peter, not only does he have to get his GED, but he has to kind of like start over with everything on that end, right? So a startup sounds perfect for him.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them kind of exiting the series for a while. I saw some rumors that they were trying to figure out a way to turn MJ into a superhero.
We are Spider-Man.
I honestly, I think it would be really cool if they brought her back and made her Silk, like from the comics.
I would like to see Silk pop up somewhere.
I don't know
about Zendaya though. So Silk's origin is she got bit by the same spider as Peter.
And whenever they're near each other, they just get...
Yeah, their hormones go crazy. They get super horny for each other. But she's been locked up ever since she got bit because they found out that she was the one that got bit by the spider. So she's been locked up pretty much the whole time until what was it? Secret Origins, I think.
Yeah.
Whenever all the secrets come out that the Watcher knows, and then they go and rescue Silk from there. I think Spider-Man does. I don't remember. Cindy Moon is her name, Silk. She has organic webbings, and she shoots it out of her fingertips.
Ew.
And then in the
I didn't know that part. Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't know that part? Oh, okay. And then in the beginning, you've probably seen it, the white webbing suit that she has. That's just her webbing that she shoots on her, because she's kind of just, solo for a bit. Yeah.
That's cool.
It's the sexy outfit.
Yeah, and then eventually she gets the one that she has with the red mask cover.
It's very anime, actually. It's a very anime outfit.
Yeah, Cindy Moon's a neat character. I dig her.
She is. She kind of falls off though with the writing what they give her. She messes with Shield a lot, particularly Mockingbird. I think
later season Marvel comics, they all do that.
Oh, there's a whole arc. There's a whole arc about that where Ms. Marvel's there. Amadeus Cho, Hulk is there because they're all one demographic. But there's a moment where she has to go undercover, and so she gives herself a different costume and goes by a villain. In that arc, and I'm like, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I always like when that sort of bit happens.
Yep.
But yeah, it'd be cool if she could pop up. She could definitely be the other new love interest they want to do.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty fun time. And then since we haven't seen anything about the origin story of this Peter, I think they could get away pretty well with having her be involved with him getting bit.
Yeah, if they're gonna do it, they're gonna tease it in freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the animated series?
Yeah,
it's the animated Disney Plus show where it's Tom Holland's.
That is in the same universe, supposedly.
Yeah, it's Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's a
freshman year
prequel series.
So I'm guessing it's when he's gonna get bit.
Yep.
Is he doing the voice?
I would say maybe, but probably not, because the guy in What If that did Spider-Man, I thought for sure was Tom Holland, and it was not.
Yeah, no, it was. Who was that? Josh Keaton? Is that who it was?
I think so. It's a name I didn't recognize, but
I didn't watch What If.
There's 3 episodes you should watch, and that's it.
What If is all just What If stories, though, right? So nothing is actually fitting into the MCU.
No, they do.
Yeah.
Well, they might. I don't know.
They might now because multiverse. But
evil Doctor Strange might be a thing.
That Doctor Strange isn't.
You don't think
evil per se? I don't think it's that one for sure.
I hope it's not. Is what I have to say about that. With my limited knowledge of what If is,
Evil Strange is cool in What If, especially because he has to absorb all these demons to get enough power to change fate, and then he turns into this just Kevin 11 looking villain at one point, which is cool.
Yeah, that was pretty.
Okay,
He's
cool.
I dig Strange is probably one of my favorite parts of that show. He's really good.
Yeah, he's easily the best part.
Yeah. Everything else in it's kind of whatever. But you should definitely watch the Assassination of the Avengers episode. That's a really good one.
Episode 3.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good episode.
Sandman is just CG the whole time, and I'm like, I guess they just couldn't get the actor. And then we got the final scene. I was like, oh, they did?
No.
But then, Jake pointed out that hey, look, they reused some shots from older films. I'm like, now looking back at that scene,
him and Lizard, they reused footage from both of them, transforming back.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed immediately because the Sandman one, and I just kind of figured with the other one because I had seen what the guy looks like, and I was like, there's no way he doesn't look the same, and he doesn't look CGI'd. So,
yeah. Man, like so the shot of him like peeking through one of the holes in the statue, and just the way the shadows on him, like, yeah, that did look pretty rough.
Yeah. It's not great, and that's why their names don't show up in a big splash at the end in the credits, like they do for the other 4 villains.
Like Lawrence Fishburne in another movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch the credits for that other movie, but does he show up in those? Does his name pop up?
I don't know because I didn't care to look at the credits either, but I'd imagine they wouldn't pop up because it's a similar thing here.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
So, post-credit sequence, did you guys like it?
With Tom Hardy really just hanging out and then leaving, only to leave one dot of a symbiote, which is just like, that's a stretch, man. I guess that's what people want, which, I mean, I think you actually brought that up at one point in our chat of like, oh, they're going to do Venom, but it's not going to be Tom Hardy. And I'm like, I don't know if they want to do that, but now it's like, oh, they can't just do that.
Honestly, I'm so bummed. I'm honestly like super bummed that scene played out the way it did. I guess there was really no other way it could have done that. I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, I mean it's fine, I guess, for like a little fun. It's definitely not going to have an impact in the future Venomverse stuff. So
it doesn't really make sense why his symbiote would stay behind, just to set up just something
like
that might happen.
One little drop.
Yeah, because Venom could just come to Earth like he always does.
So
you don't need to have.
So does that mean that like there's bits of like Doc Ock and like like Green Goblin and stuff hanging around the city like still like there's just like there's like little toenail clippings.
Yeah, maybe there's like some Goblin
around.
tech. Like
I don't know,
some grenade fragments or whatever.
Yeah, something. I'm curious how that's gonna shake out. But I thought it was.
You would think matter from another universe would have to return with that.
Yeah, right. Like you think it would shift the whole being back, not just like everything but this tiny puddle. I don't know. To me, that felt kind of cheap. It
is because it moves and it's like, I mean, I guess, but just keep it multiverse and just have Venom come back like that.
I'm cool with Tom Hardy's Venom being like involved in some way, capacity wise, like. But can you imagine how much cooler it would have been if Topher Grace had come back? And they had done it right, like they had done it correctly. Oh man.
Well, I was also kind of hoping. I'm forgetting the actor's name. The other Harry from Amazing Spider-Man 2. If he would have.
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah, Dane Heenan. It would have been cool if he would.
Yeah. That would have been awesome. Have like 2 goblins in this one too. Like 3 goblins versus 3 Spider-Men would have been awesome.
Was his goblin good though? Because I saw pictures where he looks really terrible.
No, it was bad. But
well, yeah, because it's the goblin sickness that the Osborns have, and that's why he becomes the Green Goblin.
Oh yeah, it's like a degenerative disease in the Amazing Spider-Man movies. Like Norman Osborn is in about 5 minutes of Amazing Spider-Man 2, like right at the beginning, and then he dies.
Yeah, and it's his death.
Yeah. And that's what picks up the plot point of they need to find Spider-Man because Spider-Man has magic blood that can heal people.
Oh that's right.
Yeah, that's like the whole plot of that second movie is that Peter Parker finds out that his blood type, like from his family lineage, is like a special blood type that interacts with the spider venom in a weird way. So he's the only one who could have been Spider-Man.
I only saw that movie in theater, so I don't remember much.
I've seen it a couple times since then. I still think it. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, there's some great moments in there, but
that post-credit scene was a bit of a letdown with Venom. It's wish there was a little more going on.
Yeah, it's a shame too because his inclusion in the universe via the spell makes more sense than Electro's.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah.
Yep. So
yeah, because I was talking to my friends over here. I was thinking like, well, actually, kind of. Why would Venom get sent over? It's like, oh, maybe because the reason he got ran out of New York is because he revealed who Spider-Man was. Like that's something I was thinking.
That would be interesting, but no, I think it's just because of the post-credit sequence in Carnage. Because what happens is he's like, "Oh, Eddie, you want to see a fraction of what the hive mind has experienced?"
Yeah, because the hive mind sees multiple universes. Like they can all they all see different realities and stuff. So
so since he links to that, it connects.
Yeah, so like that sense. Venom is aware of who Peter Parker is. So that's
I think probably like when at the end of Carnage, he's like, "Oh, I hate that guy." And he licks the screen and it's Tom Holland. I don't think that the implication is that he doesn't he knows Tom Holland. He just knows Spider-Man and doesn't like Spider-Man.
And then I guess real quick, the other post-credit scene, right, / trailer we got for Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, that completely evaded my brain for a second. I was like, what? I forgot that was the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the second post-credit scene should have been? It should have been Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back in their respective universes, seeing what happened to them, a la Into the Spider-Verse, like how we got to see Peter Parker go meet back up with Mary Jane, and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you should have ended your stupid movie.
But I also kind of like just them ending with the hug.
Yeah, that's fair.
At the end, too. That's just a good send-off right there. And then, just Tobey and Andrew just, over each other's shoulders, they're like, yeah, we did good today.
I just remembered who two of the cut characters were that I heard about also, in addition to this. Karen Page from Daredevil, supposedly, was going to be in this, and Kirsten Dunst was spotted in the same couple of photos.
Oh, yeah, it's because they were both both walking together in LA during the reshoots.
I don't know if that's legit.
I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Okay, look, this is going to sound pretty rough, but I don't think that they would bring back Kirsten Dunst.
What? But she sings so well. She's such a good singer.
I don't think if you want to have people go, "Oh wow, this reminds me of the thing that I really liked and really loved in the past," you would bring back somebody that doesn't at all resemble that past. I know that I've seen the picture of them together, but I don't think that would make sense. It also wouldn't make any sense for Karen Page to be in this at all. So,
Daredevil, right?
With the way,
but
the way they end Daredevil season 3, she's a direct part of Nelson and Murdoch now.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen season 3.
Bruh. Dude,
it's great.
Is it?
That is peak, man.
Oh, good, because I didn't really like season 2, except for the Punisher stuff.
Season 3 is great. It's man, I just finished watching it this past week.
Season 3 is all about going back to what made season 1 great.
Yep.
Oh, good.
And a big keynote about that is that Matt Murdock wears the OG black suit instead of the red one.
Oh, cool.
The whole season.
And the red suit does appear in the season, but it's not in the same way.
There's a role for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's super good. Season 3 is just magnificent.
Cool.
It's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, Defenders was just so bad that I kind of fell off. Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about Defenders? I always think back to it.
It's still impressive that they did it. They just didn't do it very well, So,
yeah, it had one good scene.
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver should not have been the main villain.
No.
No, he should not have been in there.
It also kind of came off pretty tasteless, I have to say, too, to have, what are they called, the fist? Not the Asian
the hand.
ninja group?
The hand.
Oh, the hand.
The hand. I wanted to say the foot, but I know that's Ninja Turtles.
Oh, that's what Ninja Turtles made fun of when they did the foot.
But to have her be the leader of like the whole series, it's all Asian people pretty much, right? That are part of that group, and then they're like, oh, the big boss is like this old white lady, and I just thought it was really weird. It's it just didn't really make sense. And then wasn't she I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that, but it just felt really forced for it to be Sigourney Weaver because I guess people
Sigourney.
I guess not me.
She was an Avatar. I don't know.
She's good in Galaxy Quest.
She was.
Yep.
Galaxy Quest. That's I don't really care for her in anything
she's good
else.
in Ghostbusters, but that's old. And Alien, but that's also really old. So
it's a long time ago. But I feel like that's the only reason she was in it because it's geek stuff. Let's have Sigourney Weaver. In
she's
it. Okay.
she's an actress that's been in nerdy stuff. Yeah, there we go.
And it just felt like it undercut this big organization you were building up this whole time to be oh, it's just this real estate lady or something, and you're
yeah, it's
what? I don't know.
It's like having Kevin Spacey Lex Luthor be the main villain of the entire thing.
Right? He is a villain, though.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah, okay. Was there anything else with No Way Home that we haven't touched on? Where do you rank it with the other Tom Holland films?
Oh, this one's my favorite of the three, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this is the best one.
This one for sure is my favorite of the three. It outpaces the other two by a lot more, and I actively want to watch this one again. Which is not what I can say for the other two.
Yeah, it's funny how fast the Mysterio stuff just died off in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like that was such a key, big focus in the beginning.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It is. It's also weird to think about the timeline-wise, how soon after this movie takes place.
It's immediately after.
Yeah. They're totally connected. I mean, I guess there's a little time jump of maybe a few weeks.
Yep.
Well, there's the montage stuff of them going through all the legal stuff.
Oh, man. I gotta say, I love the scene where he gets splashed with, just CGI green goo.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was great. And I loved that it was, that perfect shade of, green screen green.
It definitely
just
was.
To be Mysterio was a film guy, so we're throwing the green screen goo on you.
Yeah.
And then I liked that led into him having to wear the suit inside out. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty well done. I liked his little wrist doodad for capturing bad guys. Doctor Strange's little
the gauntlet. Was cool.
His little gauntlet guy was cool.
Yeah.
I liked that he could control Doc Ock's arms with the nanotech.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting.
That was a neat little touch because it's any other Spider-Man would just have to brute force against Doc Ock, but he's got this upper hand from having other Marvel characters around, and so he's able to circumvent the problem a different way, which is something I liked about this movie too. Tom Holland got some good smart scenes in this. He got to prove that he was intelligent because
he definitely didn't have that in Far From Home.
There's the scene where he's doing the geometry stuff to web up Doctor Strange, and then there's him figuring out the science stuff, and I really dug Tom Holland in this movie. I feel like he really finally they nailed down how to do it for him in this one.
Yeah, and he really brought it acting wise. Do you remember Toby's line of dialogue about the serum? For Goblin. I don't know if you missed it. If you
was that while they were in the school doing stuff? Yeah, I would have.
So
they're
deciding who will, how they're gonna divide up the tasks of solving each villain's issue. And so Andrew's like, oh, well, I got Lizard because I already did that once before, so I'll go work on that. And they're like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, I already did it. I'm good. And so he goes off and does that. So that was good. And then Toby's like, oh, well, I've been thinking about the Goblin serum for a long time, so I think I know how we can solve this. And it's such a weird way to say that because it's like, well, if it was just Norman, you wouldn't ever be like, oh man, I wish I had a serum to solve this guy going crazy. Because really, just based off of Norman stuff, he doesn't even know why Norman acted the way he did. He has no idea. He doesn't know about any of the serum or anything. It's not until what happens with Harry that he finds out about all that. And even then, it's probably still not till after Spider-Man 3 when he would go and actually see all the evidence of what went down. Yeah. He hardly saw the layer.
Yeah,
right?
He saw the layer when he was blowing it up.
Yeah. Maybe he'd probably go back to it after the fact and then figure out, oh, okay, this
is the reason Harry turned. This is the stuff that did it. Yeah.
And it was a weird throwaway line to just be like, oh, I've been thinking about this for a while, instead of being like, yeah, this is plagued people really close to me, and
I guess
I wanted to make sure it wouldn't happen.
Way to say it.
Yeah,
it's the easy way to say it. Yeah,
but it just goes along with the comment about Harry as well, where it's like, oh yeah, he tried to kill me and then he died. It's like, oh, okay, well, a lot more happened.
Kind of makes you feel like they forgot a lot of what happened in Spider-Man 3. It almost makes me wonder if Toby is Toby, Willem Dafoe, and Alfred are all actually from that universe, or if it's a slightly adjacent one. Where
which is what I thought they would do beforehand. Yeah. I always thought the safe way, because when I saw Doc Ock's red claws in the trailer, I was like, oh, he's not the real Doc Ock that we know. He's just from an adjacent universe. But But no, everybody's supposed to be.
Yeah, and his claws only turn red after the nanotech stuff gets on him.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Oh, Tom Holland's suit with the nanotech added onto it. That I like that a lot. The like whole that's like a reference to the game, right? The big spider symbol. It's like the big white one.
Yeah,
right?
kind of, sort of.
Oh, I guess in a sense, yeah. That's just more towards.
And that kind of fits too, because like he doesn't get the nanotech back on his suit until after he helps fix Dr. Octopus, right? Like
that part was a little weird to me because he's not wearing the nano suit that those pieces came from, because it got wrecked, and then it's like, okay, let's just put it back on Peter, and it's like, I mean, I guess that works, but yeah, it's not like he's gonna use those. Like, it's not like he's gonna make the Iron Spider.
Yeah,
right.
A little weird.
Yeah.
But interesting. It still looks good. It's a good looking suit.
Yeah, I like the look.
Would have been cool if that's just the suit he kept using. But they got to give him.
He didn't have the resources to fix the suit because there is still some tech.
But
with, that Spider-Man.
But
suit.
okay, this is the confusing part, right? Like Peter Parker isn't connected to the Avengers anymore, but Spider-Man still is. Like,
yeah, but Stark's Industries is still under
investigation or whatever.
Investigation.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that's. I
guess they still be though.
They were investigating the Spider-Man stuff with the drones.
Yeah.
And if you take Peter Parker out of the equation, it's still Spider-Man used the drones from Stark Industries to kill Mysterio. So
they still think Mysterio's still dead.
Yeah. Because all the events that happened still happened.
Yeah, just nobody remembers Peter Parker being there.
Like, nobody remembers that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, like, in any way. But if you start thinking too hard about that, then the whole thing falls apart, so... But yeah, overall, this is probably my favorite of the three Hollands. It's definitely up there with some of the other Spider-Man movies, I think.
Yeah, it's just the thing that holds it back for me, comparing it to the other ones, I guess, would just be the MCU jokes.
Yep.
And like those 4 scenes that have to be in there. Not the parts in the beginning, but in the latter half where like it really stands out.
Yeah.
Like I still don't like the scene where they laugh at Otto's name.
God, I hate that scene. It's so bad.
Like I get it. It's such an old like comic book name, but still like
you have met the weirdest people with the weirdest names, and you're laughing at Otto Octavius. Like I don't get how you can go through an entire universe of people named like Thanos and Corvus Glaive, Peter Quill and Gamora and Drax, and be
Doctor
like
Strange.
Doctor Strange, and be like Otto Octavius.
They threw in the callback to Infinity War with like, oh, we're using our fake names.
Yep. But yeah, it's I don't know that really took me out like pretty hardcore. Like that. Little
that one really took me out the most.
Because you know what would have been great to have instead of that scene, a scene where Peter and him are actually having like a nice heart to heart. Wouldn't that be cool? Just have a nice scene where it's like it's the other two have walked out of the room and it's just Peter talking with Otto and they're just having a conversation and nobody's cracking any jokes. They're just talking about life and stuff and I don't know, like anything other than just jokes, like something that like does anything to further the characters.
Yeah. Speaking of which, when Toby finally sees Doc Ock again in the movie, initially I was like, "Oh, that's a nice moment," until it set in that I was like, "Oh, that's just a reference. That's all that is." Because he sees him and he's like,
they say the same lines. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, Peter, my boy, how are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm trying to do better." Like, that's what he said.
I think
that's
like
what he
the
says
first
in
line is
Spider-Man
pretty
2.
good, where he's like, "Peter, you've grown so much. Like you're so
I
much
did like
older."
that.
Like that bit of it was good.
That part,
and the reference part is like,
because he says something like "you lived a life" or something along those lines.
Yeah,
right?
like you've lived a whole life, like outside of me or whatever.
But Peter and Otto have some of the like most well-written dialogue of any superhero movie.
Yeah,
like it's really good stuff.
Yep. You mean in this one or in Spider-Man 2?
No, in Spider-Man.
Okay, I was like, it's
yeah.
not this movie.
Yeah. And Otto was always such an insightful person. So it is a shame that in this he's just reduced to being like a shouty
Well,
guy.
and it sucks because like as soon as he gets cured, he just disappears. And like we don't get to see what he was doing, where he was at, and then he shows up just in the nick of time for the final act to stop Electro or whatever. you know.
And something that I think they forgot about his character was that the reason why he went mad was because Rosie died.
Yeah, like that's the whole reason he goes crazy is Rosie dies and then the energy hits the chip, and the combination of those two things drives him over the edge to finish the experiment. Like that's the whole basis of his character is based on that. And that's like the whole basis of that second Spider-Man movie is dealing with loss and tragedy and how we recover from it and how we, you know, how we process those feelings. And Peter Parker ultimately processes a lot of that stuff in a much more healthy way than Doc Ock does.
I was surprised that they didn't use the brilliant but lazy line.
Yeah. Like, you know what would have been... man, I know that the whole thing was to spotlight the three spiders, but Doc Ock should have been at the school with them in the scene where they're all figuring out how to build the little machines to stop the bad guys. Like, I don't know why Doc Ock didn't show up there.
Yeah, it didn't make sense for him to just, like, run away.
Because then there could have been a really good interaction between, like, him and Andrew Garfield being like, what the heck? Why do you have weird arms? What is that? Like, like, or, like, maybe Peter or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man could have been like, I saw Oscorp blueprints looking into something like this. They were building arms like this. Because they pop up at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. I don't know, like, you want to get your big reference caps on, that's the way to do it. It's just really weird that Doc Ock just, like, dropped out after, like, being in the movie pretty in the spotlight for a long time.
It's one of those pick and choose moments, I guess, for who you want in what scenes and, like, how long are the screen time going to be.
Well, and I wonder if there was, like, filming complications and stuff. Like, maybe they couldn't get him at the same time as other people, so, like, they were limited in some ways that way. So it's just a bummer that it couldn't have been made at a time where there wasn't stuff happening.
They were going to put Cap's shield on the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Yeah. So is that like a... What do you think that is that like a memorial?
I guess like the impact of the Avengers gets, you know, spread throughout the Marvel universe
no,
in
guys.
that way, right?
It's to celebrate Falcon getting the shield.
Oh, yeah.
They were going to put big fat wings on the back of it too.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? At their school, right? They put RDJ on the mural of scientists, right?
Oh, they put Hank Pym back there too.
Yeah,
Hank Pym's part of the wall. Yeah,
that's a nice touch.
Stuff. I guess we can touch on the thing that Shelby sent in the chat and that I got to send earlier in the Instagram. There was concept art for this movie.
Well, but is it because reading the description on his post, it sounds like this is just his concept art because he can't show anything yet from the movie.
Oh, so is this like fake concept art? Like
he said, while I wait for the green light to show the work I did for No Way Home, here is a small take on what might come next. Yeah, and that is Tom Holland in the black Spider-Man suit, which I dig because it has the Tom Hardy Venom look in there too.
Yeah,
with the veins.
Yeah, and I love that it's got the back of the hand patches. Which is great. And then
I always like that. Thomas Ducrest
on
Instagram. My only criticism of it would be that he should be bulkier because when Peter gets the black suit, he gets bulky.
He gets pretty thick. Yeah, he's a little bit thicker.
Yeah,
normal. It augments the muscles.
But otherwise, I think it looks pretty cool, and I like that. Yeah, it is consistent with Venom, which I guess no matter how they do it, they would have to make it a pretty similar design, right?
Yeah, I would think so. If it's going to be based on that Venom.
And it's pretty good design.
It looks pretty good. It looks pretty good.
It also fits with the new suit that Spider-Man gets, right? Because he's had the boxy Spider-Man design for so long until now, because he gets the influence from Tobey and Andrew spider suits. I only wish there was like a final shot of just a full look at the suit and not just swinging the whole time.
Yeah, like maybe him standing in the apartment before he goes out and swings.
Yep, that would have been nice. I would have liked that a lot. You know, you do the reveal like you do it in the PS4 game, where you get like a couple shots of the feet, then you get the sliding of the building.
The build-up. Yeah.
Oh, man, that PS4 Spider-Man game is the best movie we ever got. Andrew deserves the third movie. What's the hashtag I've been seeing? Make TASM 3.
Yeah. I haven't seen that go around.
I mean, if they're smart, they add him into Morbius before it drops. Even if it's only in the post-credit sequence. They either make... I think they should just do Venom versus the Amazing Spider-Man, or vice versa, as the next, next installment in the universe, and then you do a solo Spider-Man movie. And whatever else they're doing, Craven or whatever.
Yeah, they got Craven and Black Cat, right, and Silver Sable.
Yeah. Well, Silver Sable's been on the docket for a minute, so.
Well, because it was going to be with Black Cat, and then let's separate the movies, and then that's the last thing you heard about.
I'm sure they still want to do their Sinister Six movie.
I mean, we got close with this one, right? There was 5 of them.
Yeah.
Technically 6, just the 6th wasn't in the fight.
Oh, Venom.
Yeah, I did appreciate that Sandman. Like, the whole reason he was fighting everybody in the end was, like, he wasn't helping out the bad guys. He's like, I literally just want to go home and hang out with my daughter. Like, his whole goal was just to press that little button on the box so he could go home. It's just funny, like, I guess that implies that Sandman at some point in the future dies because of Spider-Man?
Well, that's where that line doesn't really work, yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah, he still says they all die fighting Spider-Man. Yeah, that line has a problem because the Lizard asked Electro, he's like, do I die? Because you're ahead of me in the timeline, right? And I don't think he answers. I don't remember if he answered yes or no to that, but yeah, that's...
Does he die?
No, he doesn't die. Overall, a great time with this movie.
Yep. Same here.
It being 2.5 hours didn't really bother me.
Nope.
No, it flew by. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded if it was longer.
Pretty great theater experience, too, I gotta say. Like, we had a nice full audience, and everyone was cheering at all the good parts and everything, and not laughing at the bad, dumb stuff. I like that the audiences I'm seeing these movies with are starting to, like, they're getting it. Like, they're like, no, these jokes suck.
Yeah, these jokes are, like, almost 10 years old at this point.
Yeah, yeah. It's like people are over it, which is pretty fun. But overall, it was a pretty great theater experience. Got to take some pictures in my Doctor Strange costume before the movie, so that was a good time.
Always very good.
So I think with that, we could go ahead and wrap up this episode today.
Yep.
Thank you guys for swinging by and checking it out. It's been a while since the last one came out, but we'll sure to come back more often. We still got to talk about Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, I've got to fill you guys in about the premiere experience and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's right.
I got to do that.
So right on, while we wait for the next episode to come out, Jake, where can we find that and all your other stuff popping up?
You guys can find me anywhere on the internet at Corruption Cosplay with K's. Just keep an eye on that Instagram. The trailer for episode 5 of Shattered Past has dropped. You can see me in the trailer as a Time Force keeper agent person. I forget the name of what the character is, but I beat up the main guy. It's a good time. I'm big. I'm tall. I beat up the main dude. So that's a really good time. That episode should be dropping soon. We're actually in the process of shooting a few more scenes for it coming up this weekend. So it's going to be a good time. Pretty excited for episode 5 and for the new episodes going forward that we're writing and working out. We got a lot more actual Power Rangers actors getting in on it and stuff. So
nice.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So if you guys want to see any of that, head over to Crimson Vision Studios on YouTube or Nerdbot Studios on YouTube as well. They're going to have everything posted there. Yeah, I think that's all I got.
And you can find me anywhere on social media at Negator7. Just posting stuff here and there on Instagram and all that good stuff.
Those good manga edits, bro. They're still coming through.
Yeah, I've been doing the manga edits more often now.
Been seeing a few AMVs, and those are looking pretty good. So
yeah, re-uploaded some old ones. And I don't know if you care to shout out your IG.
I don't post at all anymore. But I would like to shout out, if you haven't seen it already, the Sobe documentary on Danny's channel is very much worth watching and very insightful to the current Sobe pandemic that we're experiencing right now. And you know, it's the more knowledge you have, the better it is. Stay informed, stay safe, and stock up when you can, because we don't know when the next shipment will or will not make it through. So stock up on Sobe.
Don't know what's going on with those boats off the coast, but they don't like lizards. That's all I know.
It's just disappointment every time I visit the store with just an empty shelf just there waiting, mocking me.
Was it nice seeing a lizard in this movie, Danny? Did that do something for you?
Yeah, it's all lizard content is acceptable.
It's genuinely strange that Sobe is not featured in the Venomverse, because it seems like it should be. Seems like
yeah,
like Eddie should have like a case, like bottles of it around his apartment.
Yeah, where's the Sobe tie-in? Where is that?
Yeah,
there needs to be like just in his fridge. It needs to be at like an extra like small box of Chinese food that's like half eaten, and then a bottle of Sobe. Just
because look, Venom is going the early 2000s comic book route.
Oh yeah,
for the movie. What's another one? Ghost Rider. What was in Ghost Rider? The Sobe Dome. Like,
yep, it's true.
It only makes sense for it to pop up again.
All I'm
all
saying is that Sonyverse. No, I think you said it wrong. It's called Sobeverse.
Yeah. I mean, you know what's great too is that I'm seeing more Sobe memes pop up that I don't make. So that's fun.
Yeah. Well, it's because you started it, man. You're the originator. Yep.
I made it happen.
The
putting
progenitor.
it into the universe, man. Yeah.
The progenitor of Soapy memes.
Yes, sir. All right, thanks again, guys. And until next time.
Dig on this.